Welcome to the Dark Nook Monster Shop. Well, Halloween is over, but just like every year, I have a bunch of dollar store Halloween junk left over. So, let's make a monster out of it. First, I need these spider legs. I told you these things work like magic. I don't have any plan at all, other than to kinda Mr. Potato Head these spider legs into this pumpkin body. Then maybe sculpt a goofy face on it or something. That's really my whole plan. Although I do have a kinda neat idea for something I want to try with the foam clay eyes and some UV resin, but that's really it. So, I poke a hole in the foam with my almighty awl and then push the leg in after it. The vinyl wrap on these pumpkins stretches a bit, so it'll help hold the legs in the foam pretty well. But I'm still going to secure it with some hot glue once I have them positioned how I want them. It won't need any kind of armature. These little legs are more than enough to support the weight of this pumpkin. And speaking of enough support, please hit that like button and support the channel by subscribing or leaving a comment down below. Now, I draw the face on. I want a big goofy toothy troll grin, so I cut along these lines with flash-like speed and then peel off the vinyl skin. Next, I pick out the foam with my awl and expand the eye holes a bit. Then I hit it with a little heat from the heat gun to firm up the foam. Time for some foam clay. I pack just a bit of foam clay into the eyes and smooth it around. I do this for both eyes because this will give the eyeballs I'm about to make somewhere to stick without getting too squished out of shape since I'm putting the eyeballs in soft. Now, I could make the eyes and set them aside to harden, but then it's a little more difficult to get them to fit, so they need to be a bit smaller. If I put them in soft, as long as I'm careful, I can smush them into place with minimal distortion and get a bigger eye for a better look. It's a small detail, but it will make the eyes a little bigger and a little better looking. I make some foam clay paste by mixing some foam clay and Mod Podge together until it's a liquidy paste, and then I use it to coat the inside of the mouth. When that's all done, I paint the whole rest of the pumpkin with the paste that's left. This not only makes it easier for the clay to stick, but it also works as a primer on the surface for paint. It also works like glue, so it'll help to keep any attached parts good and secure. Once that layer is dry, I add some more foam clay paste to the mouth, but this time I use red foam clay to make it, so it's red. I fill in the mouth and glop some around the eyes and blend it off a bit. I poke some little holes with the tweezers, and then I add teeth by pushing them into those little holes that I poked with the tweezers. The foam clay paste fills in that little hole and will help glue the teeth into position. I want the teeth to be big and silly, but not scary. I also want them to be a little crooked and janky, but still okay. I fit the teeth in place and then I paint around them with more red foam clay paste to be the gums, and the glue that holds the teeth in place. Now I have these claws from the scorpion skeleton I used in another Monster Bash video, so let's jam these into the thing because why not? I just poke a hole and jam it in, easy as brain surgery. Now what should this thing be called? Crab pumpkin? Pumpkin crab? Crabkin? I'm going with crabkin. This is a crabkin. I start sculpting the face by building up the area that'll end up being the bridge of the nose. I blend it out and start building up the brow and the cheeks. I use a texture roller to add some texture while shaping out the basic brow and then blending off the edges. A ball stylus is perfect for smushing lip and nose into nostrils. Next, I just rough out the shape of a big goofy grin, and then blend and smooth with some water and a soft paintbrush. After that, I rough up the texture with a rougher, stiffer paintbrush. Then, I smooth it some more with a softer brush. Then, more of the rough brush, followed by some softer brush. Now I understand if this seems like an OCD simulator, but this process actually creates a really creepy, organic looking skin by adding sharp details and then softening them over and over again. When that dries somewhat, I make a fat worm of clay for the bottom lip. I pinch down one edge and stick it on. I smooth that thin edge down and then blend the fat edge into the gum line. Then I take my little palette tool and slice in some lip lines. And here's a little trick. I use a little bit of my dirty paint water to smooth the lip. But because it's a little dirty with some paint in it, it works like a wash and shows me how the lines are going to look. Then, more of the rough brush, smooth brush dance. Next, I add a thin upper lip. So thin, in fact, that after I smush on some clay for the middle of the top lip, I just paint on the rest with foam clay paste, which works great. I glob on more foam clay paste around where the legs meet the body, just to build it up a little bit, give it a little bit of a transition. Then, I add a little foam clay to the stem, just to build it up a bit. When that's all dry, it's ready for paint. To start the painting process, I base it out in white. When that's dry, I spray red mixed with a little Mod Podge over the whole monster. Next, a blue wash in the eyes and mouth and low points and wrinkles. Then when that's dry, I airbrush on the flesh tone. By the way, this airbrush is probably older than you are. It's a beast. I paint on the flesh tone, focusing on the highest points. When that's all dry, I do a wash with some burnt sienna, thinned way down and mixed with Mod Podge. Then another blue wash, also thinned way down and mixed with a little Mod Podge. Then a red wash, stippled all around the body, and I use that to paint some veins. And now for the first pass on the eyes. Now this is what I wanted to try. I paint them white, but I don't do a very good job. I leave the paint a little blotchy. I also paint the teeth white, but I do a better job on the teeth. Then I paint the inner pupil black, inside that little dent that I put in the eye. Then I dot and poke a bit more white on the eye, but my coverage isn't good, and I intentionally leave a bit of red showing through in places. And when that dries, I hit the rest of the body with a stipple coat of lighter flesh tone, also thinned way down and mixed with a little Mod Podge. Next, I paint a thin coat of UV resin over the eyes and teeth. I got this bottle of UV resin off of Amazon for like $10. I use a few drops per project, so at this rate, this thing's gonna last me a year or more. 2 drops in this bottle cap is more than enough to coat the eyes and teeth and lips. Then I hit it with UV light. And then once the resin is cured, I paint dark blue on the irises of the eyes. I also add some dark blue around the areas where the legs attach to the body to make it look like the legs are kind of ripping out through bruised up skin. Then I use a cottony ear stick to roll on some red wash for a nice mottled fleshy look. Then I add a little of that burnt sienna wash to the teeth. I wait a few minutes and then wipe some back off with another one of those cotton ear sticks or whatever you call it in your country. Next, more UV resin over the eyes and teeth and more UV light to cure it. Then I paint on light blue around the iris, making sure to leave a little ring of dark blue around the outer edge. Now, keep in mind, while this is repetitive, no single step of this process is particularly hard. Anybody can do this and get pretty cool looking results, I think. I also add a bit of black wash to the teeth, and then a dot of black in the pupil. Next, another coat of UV resin on the eyes and teeth and some more UV light to cure it. Finally, I paint a little metallic yellow onto the iris. mostly around the outer edge right near where the dark blue ring starts. And a little more black wash on the teeth. And as that dries, I stipple on this wash of green just to give the skin a bit more of a decomposing kind of zombie look. And finally, I add a few drops of resin into that eye dip to form a slight dome. Then I hit that with a UV light. Then repeat it with the other eye. Now this process is not perfect. You might get a bubble. I got a bubble, but it still works and it still looks pretty cool. Last, I add on some bloody red mixed with high gloss Mod Podge for some blood effects around the legs and mouth. And when that's all dry, the crabkin is all done. Oh, hello there. Look who decided to join me for recording the beauty shots. Well, you should have come by 2 weeks ago and checked out the mantis monster I made. Well, let's get you back outside under the porch light eating bugs. Well, anyway, thanks for checking out my video. Please hit like, leave a comment, and subscribe for more creepy creatures and crafty creations from the Dark Nook Monster Shop.